Michael Thurmond. I'm CEO of DeKalb County, and I'm delighted to be in this meeting with the members of the DeKalb Municipal Association. Legendary Mayor of Stonecrest just chimed in. Mayor Larry, good morning. And I'll turn it over to Mayor Hammond, please.
Yes, good morning, CEO Thurmond, and thanks everyone for being here on this call. Thanks members of the DeKalb Municipal Association, all the mayors, and thank you everyone else. I believe the nature of this call this morning, the last time we met, I believe was May the 11th, if I'm not mistaken. And so we are returning to a conversation that we started, what was it, 6 weeks ago, something like that, on the distribution of the CARES Act funding. So that, I believe, is on everyone's mind. And we have been in discussion about that. And I know that that is something the CEO is very interested in talking to us about. Bill, you've done the lion's share of collecting the all of the city's data on this and distributing it with the commissioners and to the CEO. So why don't you do the initial introduction on all of this, Bill Floyd?
Okay. Well, I have sent, I think everything that you all have seen, I have sent to the CEO and to Dolores, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think there's anything that you all have seen that they haven't. I do think we need to discuss, everybody I think by now has seen the governor's order and the recommendations that the stuff that he's done. So I think I'm going to turn it back over to you and Mayor Ernst and the rest of the mayors to begin this discussion with the CEO about how do we get this done.
All right, thank you, Bill. I think, Patty, you complimented the CEO on the distribution of this urgent message. We got ours this morning, and I appreciated the urgency of your message, CEO. COVID is rapidly alarming and overtaking the state of Georgia, making the need for the CARES distribution ever more necessary for the cities, for the county. The governor has given us a rubric to follow for how to distribute. I think the number is $174 and some cents per person. Is that right, Bill? Would you correct me on that number?
Yes, I think $174.59, I believe.
59, something like that. So he has given us the blueprint to follow. There were 4 counties, I believe, that were the cities were left out of that governor's blueprint, and they were DeKalb, Fulton, Gwinnett, and one other I don't remember. So that's why we are in this conversation this morning. The sense of urgency could not be more hot. As mentioned, we're all looking at reverse 911 calls following the lead of the CEO of DeKalb, Mr. Thurmond. We appreciate your sense of alarm. Now let's get to helping our small businesses and helping the cities participate with you and participate among ourselves in protecting the citizens of DeKalb County, the businesses of DeKalb County. So how are we going to do that? John, Mayor Ernst, what do you have to say?
Well, thank you. Sorry. We're looking, for an ability to budget. We're looking for an ability to know what we're going to get. If it's going to be 0, tell us it's 0. If it's not 0, tell us what it is, so that they'll go ahead and budget and get the monies and then disperse it out to the county. I think we've been on this conversation now going close to 2-3 months, and we are trying to. Like I said to you, Mr. CEO, on the phone, you have the money, you know what you can budget for. There has been talk that we're going to get some money. We have held off pending the governor's determination. We were all hoping that he would give cities in DeKalb, Gwinnett, Cobb, the ones who already got the money to give it to us also. So, but that didn't occur. So we're back to this point here where we do need to figure out what are we going to get? What are we going to be able to budget? Am I able to give my first responders, my employees, frontline pay or not? Am I going to be able to set up a small business loan to my small businesses or not? Am I going to do other stuff that helps benefit this county and the city overall and long term, buy different things that are COVID related, but will have long term impact? We here in Brookhaven, we are, we're basically at the ready to determine what we would do with the money, knowing once we know what kind of money, what are we going to get? If I wasn't in DeKalb County, Brookhaven will get close to $9.1 million. And we'd be able to disperse that out in a very quick amount of time, in a ethical amount of time way that would keep it so that no one goes to jail, so that we all, we have the capacity to disperse these funds in following the law. So what we're trying to figure out is can we budget? And outside of that, that's really kind of what this whole conversation is about.
All right, well, let's get to work.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get to work. And there's been reference to the governor's decision. I guess it was Tuesday of this week, when he finally decided how, at least from his perspective, money would be allocated to cities and counties with less than 500,000 population, minus the cities and counties in the 4 counties that had plus 500 population. So let's put his formula up, because there's been a lot of discussion about it, certain portions of it. But I want to look at his formula in its totality. And of course, I got a copy of the letter that ACG and the Municipal Association sent to the governor, the recommendation that you all preferred, or the formula that you all would have preferred, which he rejected. So let's look at what he did determine, so we're all on the same page, and so we can come to some understanding, so we'll have a recommendation for the county commissioners. So I think, Mr. Matowski, can you put up the governor's funding formula, Ms. Lois? Can y'all put, not the letter, but his funding, how he recommended the money will be dispersed across the state?
There we go.
Yes, we're teeing it up now.
Okay, just the Georgia allocation breakdown,
Which part? This one?
the top.
Okay. Let's see if I can make that bigger. Hang on, I'm sorry, I'm trying to make it bigger. And then move over.
That might be too big.
Too big.
Yeah, I'm not.
Well, let's come back to it. Let's go with what we've done. That's not what I'm looking for.
Go to the next tab. Okay.
All right, up to this point, let me show you what we've done.
Hang on a second again, I'm sorry. All right, there you go, sir.
All right, this is what, and you all got a copy of this. Lord, did you send the members of could you send them a copy?
I will right now.
So everybody will know everything, and then we can go from here. And by the way, I think Mayor Hart's reference if, it's no if, it's just how we're going to do it. It's not if we're going to do it. We don't even need to have a conversation about if, it's how.
Looking forward to the how we're gonna get it done and get to the numbers.
Yeah. So you will see that, and I'll let you all get it. What we've done so far, and you'll see it, is that we allocated money for the Department of Public Health, about $16.5 million for mobile testing, patient healthcare system upgrades to 5 clinics located around DeKalb County, housing for those who may need assistance who are quarantined. Can you scroll it up, John?
I'm sorry, Mr. CEO. You just scroll,
Yeah,
is that what you asked for?
up. Yeah.
Okay, there we go, I'm sorry.
And these are things that were requested directly by the Department of Public Health. The second category I think you'll see is from the Community Service Board. One of the hidden impacts of one of the challenges associated with COVID-19 is the tremendous amount of trauma, emotional and psychological trauma that this disease is causing all across our county, really all across the nation. And so we had a committee led by Commissioner Gannon. We're recommending $2.7 million based on recommendations from our Community Service Board to improve mental health services and access to these services countywide throughout the county. This is very important for young people as well as older individuals. Frontline pay dealt, as you can see more specifically, with DeKalb County personnel who are serving different parts of the county depending on where you live. Keep going forward. Food insecurity. We've had 3 major food distribution events around DeKalb County, primarily from locations at Hollister Stadium, Panthersville, and New Birth and Stonecrest. We just had a Georgia Grown event in Tucker on Thursday, and we also provided $600 million to supplement the work of the Atlanta Community Food Bank. They are having pop-up food distributions all over the county. I think it's between 50 and 75 of these pop-ups around DeKalb County. They had one in Clarkston 2 weeks ago, and another out on Panola Road. I guess that would have been in Stonecrest as well. Some general assistance for Department of Family and Children's Services, additional money for our DeKalb Career Academy. We have 850 young people from around the county, public and private school kids earning $9 an hour this summer. We closed an agreement with one local institution, financial institution, to implement a loan program. We're in a position where we're able to announce that hopefully next week. We're trying to get a second bank. I reached out, Mayor Garrett, to I think it's Tandem, but they were just overwhelmed with the PPP program. So I'm still looking for a second financial institution. And scroll on up, John. And senior assistance is 29,000 meals, so forth and so on. Now, one thing you'll notice about everything and grants to nonprofits, $1 million that will be distributed hopefully in the next 10 days. One thing you'll notice about all of these, except for some of the hazard pay, that these were not activities limited to unincorporated DeKalb. These are countywide activities that have been primarily funded with the dollars that have been appropriated. I couldn't come up with a strategy, and quite frankly, I didn't want to come up with a COVID strategy to mitigate the spread that only would have been there for citizens who live in unincorporated DeKalb. These are countywide activities. And so that's the concern I have with Governor Kemp's formula. And now if we can get just Governor Kemp's formula up, I'll tell you what the challenge I have with it in terms of the thinking behind the strategy. And I'm not talking money, I'm talking philosophy. And we'll get to the money, it's just something missing. And I'm not criticizing Governor Kemp. It's just, he missed something because whoever put it together didn't know a lot about how local government works. So Governor Kemp's allocation, Georgia received $4.1 billion. If we look at how he distributed, $88 million to Atlanta, and of course we only care about DeKalb, $125 million to DeKalb. And he retained, the state retained $2.2 billion of that allocation. Is retained by the state. The remainder, I guess about $1.2 billion, is retained by the county. And so that's the concern I have with Governor Kemp's formula. And now if we can get just Governor Kemp's formula up, I'll tell you what the challenge I have with it in terms of the thinking behind the strategy. And I'm not talking money, I'm talking philosophy. And we'll get to the money. It's just something missing. And I'm not criticizing Governor Kemp. It's just, he missed something because whoever put it together didn't know a lot about how local government works. So Governor Kemp's allocation, Georgia received $4.1 billion. If we look at how he distributed, $88 million to Atlanta, and of course we only care about DeKalb, $125 million to DeKalb. And he retained, the state retained $2.2 billion of that allocation. Is retained by the state. The remainder, was allocated to the jurisdictions less than 500,000 who were not incorporated into either Gwinnett, Fulton, DeKalb, Cobb, or Atlanta. That was the thinking. Is that, Bill, is that how your numbers look like in terms of what you know and what you all know about the decision the governor made?
Yeah, looks fairly close to me.
Yep.
Based on what I'm looking at, so yeah.
Okay, so that's what he did. And that's how he did it. And that was the thinking of it. So let's go to the next chart.
You want to go to the 45% breakdown?
Of what came to DeKalb. Oh yeah, this is what came to DeKalb, right? And is this the DMA scenario?
No, the DMA is this one.
This one, this is the DMA. And this is what, Bill, is this generally what you sent us? Now the difference is we use 2019 population estimates as opposed to 2018 population estimates.
Okay, yes, I think this is, it's based on $174. Is that, the numbers look close. I don't have that.
I understand, but I'm not gonna hold you to it, but this is just for us to talk about.
That looks about right.
Yes.
Yeah, and the difference is we using 2019 as opposed to 2018, but that's
Okay.
kind of the scenario.
Okay. Yeah, that looks right. Yeah.
And so under that scenario, incorporated collectively would receive 50 million and unincorporated would receive 75 million approximately. And I ain't asking nobody to buy the numbers. We'll refine the numbers, but that's just for discussion purposes. And what the governor did, he really didn't allocate any city 100% of that. What he really said was in phase one, you get 30% of it. Is that true or not true?
I think he said you get the 30% is allocated and you get a portion of that in cash.
Right. You get
But
30.
then the rest of it, the rest of it becomes a reimbursement program that he set up.
That he set up. He retained 70% of it.
That's correct. I mean,
Is that right, Bill?
He retained it, Bill, he retained it so that that you could then bill against it.
Yeah,
So you have 75% would be in a pot that you would have to send reimbursements for, but you could budget off of that.
Yeah, I'm right. I'm just making sure everybody understands what he really did and what he didn't do.
No, I think what you have said is correct.
That's the governor's formula. So what he did for all jurisdictions, cities and counties of populations of less than 500,000, minus the ones in Cobb, Gwinnett, Fulton, and DeKalb, he allocated them and basically allowed them to get a block granted amount of 30% of what, quote, the total might be. And the remainder of it, he said that but he put some caveats on it, because what did he really say in this letter that he sent out, Bill? It ain't just that simple. He said something else too. What did he say?
Well, he's put together a program, and I'm not sure what you're getting at here, but he put together a program where cities can learn how to do stuff and how to get reimbursed for it. So, I mean, what he's done is he's taken 45% of the money, the cash he has left, and he's allocated it to cities and counties.
Well, he's allocated, as of today, 30% of it. See,
no, he's allocated it all. He has retained 70% of it.
Okay, well,
I know that's trivial, but
no, but that's important. And he also said that we've been talking to his group too, and I'm not defending him. I just want to make us all have the same facts. He also said that reimbursable means that you got to present something, an invoice or something, to show that whatever this expense is eligible.
That is correct. But they can spend the money and then they can submit the request as long as it's under the CARES Act. They get reimbursed up into their 100% mark.
Correct. That's all I'm saying. We skipped that point, but that's a critical point in this. And then they also said that if it's not spent by a certain day, what are they going to do?
Return. Yep.
Yeah, you don't get to spend it if you don't spend it by the date.
They're going to take it back.
Yeah.
So, his formula was good. It's okay. I wasn't all that impressed by it because what it also did is beyond the 30%, you have to go to them and they have to approve what you want to do or not do.
I think they either reimburse you or don't. It's not an approval process.
Well, yeah.
I mean, you have to spend the money. It's a reimbursement. So you actually have to spend the money and then submit it to them. And then they would reimburse you. It's not, you don't get approved. The project doesn't get approved in front of. You spend the money and then you present the bill and say, this is CARES Act money. It fits under here. And then they reimburse you up to the 100% money.
Right. And so
there's not an approval beforehand. It's just, that's your pot of money that you can budget based on the CARES Act.
And what happens if you spend it on something that doesn't fall within the rules and regulations?
You don't get reimbursed, but you have a ability to budget off of that number and expect to get reimbursed as long as you follow the CARES Act.
I understand, but this is what I'm saying to you. If you make a mistake or a miscalculation, they can refuse to reimburse under the governor's formula. It's not my formula, it's his formula. Is that fair?
I think that's true with anything that you do with federal money. If you misspend it. So I don't, and but I understand what you're saying, Mike, is that, okay, they've allocated $175 per head, okay? All right, let's just say that's $1 million. Now, what he said is that you're entitled to 30% of it in phase one, okay? Right. And that's now 30%. What he said in his plan was 30% of that 30% is cash.
Right. The
rest of it is set up under some sort of reimbursement program. You don't have to do that. You can.
I understand. I understand, B. I'm not going there yet, but I just want to make sure that when we talk about the governor's formula, we're talking about all of his formula.
Okay.
That's all. I'm not saying I have to, but before I embrace it, I want everybody to understand what his formula really is, and it's not just pieces of it. He has a full formula. And I don't know whether you all are asking me to adopt his formula or adopt a part of his formula. It's something different.
I think what we're asking is for you, is the same thing that he's asked, is it for you to consider sharing that money with us?
No, that's not the question. The money is for all of us. I don't own the money. I don't even need all the money. So that's not the question. The question is, when I received correspondence and the governor encouraged us to adopt his formula. So what the question is, do you all want his formula?
Can I answer that for Stonecrest?
Yes.
No. And let me tell you why. If now this is just Stonecrest. Based on what I've heard from you, Mr. Chief, I can't, in this city where we are today, I can't get divvied up on reimbursement because we don't have the cash flow to go spend the money first, then actually request to get it back. Now, with respect to my good friend Mayor Ernst, I'll use him as an example, a good example, as a matter of fact. We're within 100 people of our size of cities, and we have a $9 million a year budget. And with your permission, Mayor Ernst, they have probably more than a $60 million a year budget. So they can spend up front and get reimbursed. At Stonecrest, we can't do that.
Our operating is about 35 million. 60 includes all capital projects.
There you go. But I thanks, Mayor, because I wanted to use that with you in a good way. I just said that just to say, Mr. CEO, that whatever, and thank you for that. You said it's not if, it's just, what is determined. Whatever we get issued here or decide on, certainly from you, I'd rather have it issued, and I'll stand the test of time with not wearing the orange jumpsuit and doing the right thing with the money. So if it's $500 or $5 million, we got some people and companies, as Mayor Hammond mentioned, that we're in dire straits now. That's my 2 cents.
Well, and thank you. See, and thank you for emphasizing the how and not the if. And you went the key point. You have to have it to spend it to get it reimbursed. And then when does it get reimbursed? It could be a day, it could be a year. So what I wanted clarification on was that I had been asked, either indirectly or directly, to adopt the governor's formula. And I don't know whether that's the best formula for any government that's cash strapped right now, which all of us are. Now, that doesn't mean we can't create a new one. I just need a clarification on this one.
Makes sense.
Mr. CEO, will you be sharing the Excel spreadsheet that you all were presenting with us later on?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, sir,
Right.
Mr. Mayor.
That's great. I would just say that, I do appreciate the steps that the county is taking to increase testing, providing test sites here in Norville. It's been very successful. I do think that where
Can't hear you, Joe.
Yeah.
you think that,
No,
you can't hear me?
No, it's staticky.
It might be my connection, so I'll stop talking.
Oh, man, I'm sorry. I wanted to hear what you had to say. Come on, get back on.
Play with your connection or text me what you wanted to say and I'll say it.
And so, Bill, what I'm saying is that doesn't mean we can't create a different formula that more in line with what Mayor Larry's saying, but that is not the way the governor set it up. That's all I'm saying.
And Mayor Geierman, I dropped your video with audio only. You may be okay. So if you want to try again with audio only.
Yeah, CEO, I just wanted to say that, and I'm using a different mic, so hopefully you can hear me. But
It's much better.
okay. I really appreciate what the county has done to institute widespread testing around the county. If anything, would like to see that increased even more. But I do understand the need for countywide distribution of funds for these types of things, which cities are not going to be able to do on their own. But there have been things where our police have provided additional support, and it would be a lot easier if we already had the funds to just pay for that without having to go through an extensive reimbursement process to do it. We've got situations where we have employees where they have not been able to do their job for a number of months. As we're talking about how do we keep them on board without furloughing them? Again, this is the kind of money that would come in handy for those kinds of decisions. And I think that whatever we decide, I hope we do it soon, just because we do only have 6 months to identify to identify what to spend the money on and then to spend it. So I see time slipping past us very quickly.
Thank you, Mayor. And of course, the Board of Health is doing, I think, under difficult circumstances. And I understand our Doraville testing site is probably the busiest one in the county. And by the way, people may not know, but a large number of the people coming to get tested in Doraville are really coming from Gwinnett County, because that center is more Hispanic centered with language opportunities that others may not have. Dr. Ford shared it with me, but we appreciate the partnership with you in Doraville. It's exceptional. And look, folks, I don't want to set up a mechanism to administer the second round of grants. That's going to be massive when you think about statewide, with all the cities and counties applying for, quote, the second round of reimbursable funding. I have no desire to set up that mechanism inside of DeKalb County so that Mayor Lynn can send me an invoice that she bought, 100 masks, and then someone said, I really don't see that as a role that we're interested in playing if we use the governor's formula. I don't.
So,
Mr. Thurmond, do you have a number in mind?
For?
I like what I'm hearing from you, but I'm curious if you have a number in mind, because I don't know that anybody on this call is saying, do what the governor did. We just, we're here to work with you and support, like you said, so we had a Dunwoody testing site. I'm sure people came from all over. The Doraville testing site is being heavily used, but I don't think anybody here is saying you need to do the same thing as the governor and set up a second round. I think what we're all hoping is that we can get some solid guidance from you today about what we're looking at so we can know what we should be planning to spend.
Mike, let me make a suggestion to you.
Okay.
And you can, and this is what I think we are asking you to do is, first of all, acknowledge that there's some money allocated to the cities at the same rate that it was allocated to unincorporated citizens. What we are asking you now to do is we acknowledge that there's a tremendous amount of this stuff that you're going to have to spend countywide. So we understand that a portion of our allocation needs to retain with you to handle countywide public health issues or whatever else. What we are asking you now is to give us phase one of that, 30% of that in cash. Now, let us take the responsibility of making sure it's spent properly, okay? The remaining 70%, we can begin a discussion about whether we ever get any of it, whether it's reimbursable money or whatever, and that we begin that discussion. But what we need now is cash in the city's bank accounts. That's what they need. And they need that for three reasons. One is expenses, everyday expenses that they're incurring with regard, just like you are, okay? They need it to help their first responders and hazardous duty pay and that kind of thing. And we need some kind of support for our small businesses. And that's what we need that cash for now. And it doesn't do us any good or you any good if it sits in the county's bank account or it sits in a city's bank account. Doesn't help us at all. Doesn't help the county. So that's what we are really asking you to do today.
And that's bad. I've only been, the governor made his decision Tuesday, so today Thursday.
So what took some
fair? Be fair. The governor made his decision Tuesday, today Thursday. I would prefer to do what Mayor Larry said. I want to just make one decision and be through with it. To be honest, I would much rather write one check and whatever legal details and whatever witnesses have to be developed and whatever processes or commitments have to be made. I don't want to be on the back end of 70% of the money. I would prefer that the cities get their money at one time. Because we all big boys and girls, you all just as responsible as me or lack thereof. So I don't see me sitting high trying to decide whether or not this activity is within the confines of the rules and regulations. I would just like to make one decision and you go and manage your cities the way people elected you to manage your city.
Mr. CEO, I'm sorry.
No, go right ahead, man.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you so much for calling this meeting and giving us the opportunity to talk to you. And I also want to thank you for all the work that you're doing countywide in terms of testing, in terms of food distributions, and all the other support that you've been giving all the cities throughout DeKalb County. I also agree that that the governor's formula does have a flaw. Absolutely, I mean, because it definitely is not fit for small cities who don't have the funding to do any projects, and they might not be able to. And assuming that some of the projects might not be approved, that's a very risky place to put small cities. So I agree with you that the governor's formula does have a flaw, and I'm pretty sure that he will face criticism and he might correct it. We will see. But right now at hand, we want to deal with DeKalb County, and DeKalb County, thankfully, was directly recipient of the CARES Act. My recommendation is to, instead of figuring out what cities need, I think the best thing to do is for you, CEO, to continue. We'll give you some time and figure out how much money will you use for countywide, and then whatever you left, we can divide it equally based on our population to all the small cities. So I think the best way will be to figure out how much are you willing to spend countywide, and as soon as you figure that out, there will be some money left, hopefully, and whatever is left, we can split it for a project that cannot be done by the county, like policing. I mean, that definitely has to be done by cities who have their own police departments. And one more thing, like things like business, small business assistance. I also am a believer that also can be done and probably should be done by the county, because cities, for us to be looking or what is in the city limit, what is outside the city limit, and asking the businesses, that would be a lot of hard. And plus, for banks, we're going to be working with different banks and different people to do that program. So it will be a lot easier for you to find a bank or somebody who can do for the whole county, and that also probably might be a lot easier to negotiate how much the fees will be for the whole county. So there could be a lot of things that the county can help us. And right now, the city of Clarkston have spent about $100,000 from our own affordable housing funding that we could have used the CARES Act, but we're not gonna. But we still are happy to help our community. And the thing is, and also I know city of Decatur has already set up assistance for their small businesses, and these things are definitely helpful, and the cities will continue to do that. But I understand that the county have now we have the money, so you have a lot of responsibility, and I definitely respect your due diligence that you take in. And but the best thing will be if you could figure out how much the county money, how much the budget for the entire county will be, and you will have some money left over, and that money could be split among the cities evenly.
Thank you, Mayor. And if you look at the, thank you so much for your partnership too. The event we had in Clarkston was amazing, to be quite honest with you. And
thank you.
$58 million of the appropriation we left in reserve, with the expectation that would have to be a distribution to the cities.
Okay. So let's distribute it.
This wasn't thought of, It was just figuring out how to first allowing the governor to make his decision and then getting with our leaders so we could make a better decision based on what was done. So the money was left there unappropriated, sitting in reserve with the expectation that at some point in time that there would be an appropriation to the cities in DeKalb County. I mean, that was the thinking.
I thought the thinking was the second wave in the fall. Is that not, we're not worried about the second wave anymore? That's what I was understanding that the reserve money was.
No, not all of it.
Okay. So what's our next step to get the money flowing?
Well, just to clarify, Mayor Lynn, and it is a good point. The communication I received was, this is the governor's formula and this is how we want you to do it. I just need to talk to you all to make sure there was some flexibility in creating a more localized formula that I think might work better for DeKalb County. That was the communication I received. And if I misread it, I apologize.
I understand.
Okay. So now I think on Monday, what's Monday? Is Monday the holiday or Saturday? Which one is the holiday?
Friday. Friday's a holiday.
Friday. We can get back together Monday. You know, I want to get the money out. We trying to save lives and beat this disease, and you all can play a big role in it. I just needed clarification on what the position of DMA was. And Bill said it best, recognizing that most of the things we've done were not, quote, unincorporated things. They were countywide things, which we all recognize that we all play a role in. Also recognizing that cities have a role to play in implementing their own strategies. We can get all of it done. I think with those understandings, I don't have any problem with it. I just needed that clarification.
Well, the one thing that is in the plan is $25 million. I mean, this is something that could be done really quickly. It's $25 million for your first responders. You can do that by population. Obviously, you have that percentage. It's not just unincorporated. It is Stonecrest. It is Tucker. It's the other cities that don't have police and such. You do that calculation, and then you give all the cities that do have police that prorated portion of what it would cost per person. You can do that very, very quickly. And then we can worry about, the rest. But I would suggest, since you already have the thing that you have in your budget that is not countywide, should be prorated portioned to the cities that do have police immediately. And then the rest of the funds we can discuss. But that's something that, we have that money today. We'll put it in our budget on our next meeting to give to our first responders and get out. So I think that's a really good starting point and a good, a path forward. If you agree to that we, excuse me, as my son is trying to get in here. If you agree to that, we can move forward really quickly and build a great partnership and trust that, that we continue as we continue talking about the rest of it.
And can I jump in here really quickly before you respond to John, just for the clarification? What amount were you thinking would come to the cities in total? Was it 58 million, or am I misunderstanding?
I think under the proposal that was sent to me, using the governor's recommendation, it was about 49 million.
That's correct. 49 million, and we asked for 30% of that.
Okay, but we'll take it. 49 million is what you think you would divide between the cities.
That was a recommendation that I received.
Okay, thank you.
Can I make, this is Patty Garrett, just a comment. I think we're all certainly open to, if there's a different formula where it's you mentioned you write one check, not, then come back for reimbursement. I think we're all interested in finding out what that would be. It is just the timeliness, and you're right. We got the governor's information 2 days ago, but to Mayor Awit's point, we did establish a small business assistance program, but we had much more, we had more need than we were able to fund. So we could certainly use CARES funding to expand that. And I disagree a little bit with my friend from Clarkston. I feel like that we want to recognize that the county is providing a number of countywide public health services that we don't provide, but I don't feel like, maybe that the city should just kind of get what's left over. I feel like the cities should be able to start paying our first responders additional pay, that we should be able to quickly set up small business assistance. And if there's some of the smaller cities that need to form a partnership with the county to make that happen, I think that should be an avenue that could be pursued. But I think there are some things that, and I think the reason we proposed the 30% was, is there a way to get the money as quickly as possible to the cities? And so if we can do that very quickly and have a different formula that we're looking at, and kind of one and done, I think, we're open to that, but it is the, how quickly could we get that to happen? So thank you.
I can respond quicker than the governor did. Would that make you all happy?
Well,
No,
we don't go by his 2.5 months. So,
right,
yeah.
but so I'm saying 2.5 days. I mean, come on, folks.
Well, it's Mr. CEO, we had discussed this beforehand. This is not a new conversation.
Well, it is a new conversation because you got new facts, because you didn't know what the governor was going to do.
But yes, but this is,
right.
Right.
Yeah,
that's fair. That's fair. So our next, I like the idea of allocating the funds all at once. I think all of us, even those of us with bigger budgets than Mayor Larry, have cash flow issues.
Right.
And so I appreciate that. And I am feeling in my neck of the woods a tremendous sense that this public health emergency is getting worse, not better. And so, which is disappointing, but it is kind of what it is. But the need to start spending those resources, and like we printed up Spanish flyers and distributed them through one of our food pantries this week. That's a very small expense. We can totally afford it. But the point is if there are bigger things we need to do, we need the resources to do them. And so the next step sounds like you're going to look at that 40 something million, and we're going to talk about it again on Monday with a plan to maybe start distributing. And is that what I'm understanding?
Absolutely. And we've already set up an administrative process. And what we need to do, to your point, Mayor Lynn, I'm so happy to do it in one check. We have no desire to have a secondary phase and so forth and reimbursable. It's just too complicated. So that's the system I would love to see.
Are you in agreement then to meet again on Monday, Mr. CEO?
Sure. That's not the holiday, right?
The holiday is tomorrow.
Okay. No, that's fine.
Okay, excellent.
I would say that we will be happy to put together what we think is reasonable based on the information you sent us this morning about some of that. And we can give you an idea and you can give us an idea what you're thinking.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I just wanted to make sure we were, and I philosophically, the one appropriation, I think there's consensus that that's a better approach. Is that clear with everybody?
Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
Everybody's in agreement with that.
Especially if we find out on Monday.
Right. And secondarily, some acknowledgement that some of this stuff is just countywide. It's not unincorporated, it's not incorporated, it's countywide. And we all ought to support it as much as we can and be able to initiate things in our jurisdictions.
Yes, sir.
I think if you look back, Mike, at our original proposal several months ago,
Okay.
We acknowledged that then, that there's a certain amount of stuff that desperately needs to be handled countywide. So we're not in disagreement with that at all.
No, that was our first initial proposal. We took a large chunk off the top.
Oh, well, this won't be that difficult now. Let me add the little caveat. We can recommend this to the commissioners. I'm not the final say so. So whatever we agree to will then become a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners. Fair?
We understand.
We totally understand the process.
Yeah. Y'all got city councils. Y'all know how this works. So.
Yeah. Mr. CEO, I just want to just follow up a little bit what I said earlier. I don't mean the city is getting leftover. I just meant already some money is already been spent on testing and food drives and other things. So I meant that that should be deducted first, and whatever is left, and plus you also have a budget for the coming until December 30th. That's the money should be spent. So my idea is to add up all whatever is already been spent plus whatever you plan to spend until December, and then whatever is left, money should be distributed evenly per population among the small cities. And I also agree with the idea of if the small cities want to get into intergovernmental agreement with the county, we certainly would love to pursue that avenue for us in terms of some projects that we could do. But I definitely agree that it would be a lot easier to calculate the county's portion first than calculating the city's portion. So that way we know how much money will be left to be distributed evenly per population among the small cities.
So
clarifying.
When you say, I'm sorry, Mayor Clarkson, I want to get some clarity on this. When you say distributed evenly amongst the actual cities, that maybe I may be taking it just a little different. When you say distributed evenly,
per capita, I'm sorry, per population.
Okay.
Duly noted, man. But no, it won't be that hard, folks. I mean, we got to just go get the job done. It's fine. Honestly.
Yeah, we agree. We think, that's coming together, getting, just putting pen to paper, knowing what we can get, and in a quick time frame. This is all we're hopeful, and this is a lot closer than we've had been. So,
well, I think, Mr. CEO, I understand, and the meeting has given me a lot of clarity on what you're thinking and long hours, and I think a better apportionment. Now, I'm willing to sit down and with our group, and while our group's listening, and I'll put together a recommendation for them, and then some of them may have their own recommendation about how to pull all this together. There's something that we can all agree on and present to you before Monday, and that we schedule some kind of meeting on Monday to approve a distribution for you to submit to the council, to your commission.
Perfect.
Okay.
We'll get it done. I mean,
okay.
Can I ask one question, Bill?
Okay.
I just want to know, since we already have submitted some expenses of our, we already have been spending part of our budget. On first responders on hazard pay, and we submitted that request to the county. So does that mean we're not going to be approved for that, or how is that going to work with this new development?
Well, I mean, I know the answer to that right now. We'll have to see whether that could be part of the solution. Okay. How that's handled.
And how quickly the commissioners respond. If not, Mayor, we can advance it, and we'll settle up later. But we'll work with you because we know how tight budgets are right now. But if we can get together Monday get a solid consensus for the commissioners, and then it's a matter of them, doing their job. And once they feel comfortable, then it's over. It's done.
All right. Can we agree on a time Monday?
Ms. Dolores, you want to set something up? I'm not looking at the calendar.
Yes, we can set it up for the same time Monday, sir.
Okay, that's fine.
Right.
What about
Everybody
you?
I was listening, is that gonna work?
Works on my end.
It works. Yep. Number one priority.
So 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Good. All right. Last thing, Bill. Not if, folks. How? We got. We get to how. We good. That's all we got to work on.
Yep. I think the if has been answered today. Now the questions, as you said, is how.
Okay, we good. All right,
Thank
you
you.
all be safe this weekend now, and enjoy the 4th.
Is there any, wait a minute, before you go, Mike, is there any, we have a few other questions that we might bring up real quickly if you have just a few more minutes.
I don't know, Bill. They easy.
So can I start, or you want to ask them, Bill? And is anybody from public health?
Please go ahead.
Is anybody from public health on this call?
No, I talked to Dr. Ford though, and
Okay.
if you like, I'll get her to follow up with you, Mayor.
We're gonna. I've got a conversation with her later. So
Okay,
I'm concerned. I can't speak for the other mayors, but the testing situation at my end of the county, which maybe is partially explained by the Gwinnett situation in Doraville, is nobody can get testing appointments. And so if I had CARES Act money, just throwing that in, I might set up a pop-up testing event or two. But and I'll talk to Dr. Ford, but the the testing hours have been reduced, I think, to 10 to 3, Monday through Friday. And I didn't know if we have any insight on how or why those decisions are being made.
no, we'd have to talk to Dr. Ford. It's a personnel issue, and it's just testing. There's an article in the day's paper. In the ABC. Did you read that?
I haven't seen it yet, but I saw the headline. I haven't read it yet.
Yeah.
Hey, folks, I'm in that picture. My car is in that picture. I was getting tested yesterday because my family's going out of town, and my car is right there in the picture. So
I knew that was your car, Jim.
yeah, you did.
Yeah.
So they
But
ran out of.
it's a statewide problem, though, man. That's it's a statewide problem. This article lays it out.
They ran out of materials yesterday at Doraville.
Yep.
So okay.
We're back to March, guys. We've been saying it.
Well,
Okay, then we're back to March.
The question is what, and it's a public health question, but the question is whether or not they need to go back to testing people only with symptoms and who have been exposed rather than encouraging everyone. But that's a public health decision, not mine.
Well, and maybe at the state level,
Yes, absolutely.
Hey, Ms. CEO.
Yes, sir.
In your opinion, and because you're closer to this than all of us, you think Governor Kemp spin this things backwards to look what, like Ernst said, maybe going back to March?
Well, I just think at the end of the day, it's really not a political decision. I mean, if the increase continues on the trajectory that it's on,
yes, sir.
And once you max out your capacity at the hospitals, I think we got about 23% more capacity. You just got to change strategies.
Got it.
So that was another question that was on the list about masking. I don't know if anybody else saw what happened in Savannah, though he's not necessarily doing it the way I would want to do it if I could. Is anybody thinking about mandatory masking for their communities or not really?
Yeah, I don't believe the governor's orders allows us to do it. I think we found it. I mean, it wouldn't be legal to enforce. You have wrongful arrest, wrongful detention issues left and right. I mean, a good plaintiff's attorney might make a retirement amount on wrongful arrests and stuff that is just legally not possible. So.
Right. Well, I would prefer a system which they're doing in other places where the businesses are required to require masks. And then you take the police totally out of it. If you choose to enforce it, you can use code enforcement, but I would never want to put my police in the position of trying to enforce this. So,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah,
It's really
Mayor Arts,
possible
you get it right on the head, Mayor Arts. I'm hesitant to put law enforcement in the middle of this, and especially with the sensitivities that exist now of law enforcement.
I agree.
100.
You guys should see my Facebook feed right now going on because I asked people to communicate with the contact tracers.
Oh, I've been doing that too, but my people like me more than they must like you.
I think you're probably right at this point.
Right. I was really worried about putting it out there. And I'm certain the people feel the same. They're just scared to get on my Facebook page because they'll get beat up.
And I think if we're gonna do anything with masks, I really would appreciate either coming from the state or hopefully with our county commission. I think that would be it got to be either regional or statewide. If not, I think putting a mask mandating for Clarkston wouldn't work. Somebody within our city limit, we don't know what's coming from outside. It's really not going to be able to work. Even with countywide, I think the best solution would be statewide mandate or some kind of mandate. Plus, we got to be able to provide. One thing we could probably do is have our police give out free masks every time they encounter somebody whom they want to advise to wear a mask. I think that would be a better thing to help the police relationship with our citizens as well.
Our police are handing out masks, but that question about masks came from me. As you all know, people in Decatur think we can just do anything we want anytime we ever want to do it. So, right, Mayor Floyd? So it's like, why hasn't our mayor?
Yep, me too. Me too.
Mask, why don't you have the guts that the Savannah mayor has?
Right. Me too. I'm getting those same emails.
Right. So,
but you did take down a Confederate statue.
We did. Thank you with the very much help from the county in making that happen. But I think we're going to try to do some of this. We did a census video with all of the city commissioners, and I think we're going to do a mask video, and we're going to put messages out again. And I keep telling people I really do kind of like to stay out of trouble in the state. So I don't.
Not possible this year.
Mandate the mask.
Hey guys, congratulations. We made it past halfway through 2020, everyone. Congratulations.
Thank you. I know, Mr. Thurmond. So thank you all, and we'll see you Monday, right?
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. CEO.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great meeting.
Bye now. Great meeting.
Everybody.
Thank you.